I am your father.
Luke, I'm your father.
Yeah, all I can tell you, man, is that most people who know this movie can say that, hey, that's hard to talk about dads like that. But no, I would say I beg to differ. He actually was a hero. If everybody know who Anakin Skywalker was, what he did, how he fell into the dark side, how he got manipulated by the Emperor, and then for him in that particular show right there, and I think that was Empire Strikes Back, he actually saved his son's life.
Really?
Yes, he did.
How did
I'm
he do
your
that?
father.
Luke,
Because he actually killed the Emperor. The Emperor was actually just about to take Luke out, and he got to a point to where his heart felt for his son on how he was begging for his life, and he took the Emperor out. And
wow.
on top of that, as he took the Emperor out, he actually took his own life with it too. On how you got to see it. You're not a Star Wars guy, man. But you got to see it.
I'm not a
But
I'm not a
all our
Star
Star
Wars.
Wars fans that's in the
Right.
listening audience right now, they know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Darth Vader is a hero.
I did see that part, but I didn't see the whole movie. And I always used to imitate that. Luke, I'm your father.
Yeah, you had a voice for it, all right.
I
That's for
sound
sure.
just like him.
You had a voice for it, that's for sure. Yeah, you do. But no, no, no. That's and the reason why we play this for the listening audience and the viewing audience is that fathers get a bad rap, you know. And for our topic today, this is actually perfect to show how fathers can be looked at as a bad guy, and deep inside they're really good men. And I'm talking about real fathers. I'm not talking about the guys out there who just making babies and doing all this crazy stuff. Here in the Men's Lounge LA, we advocates for dads, and we wanted to play that clip to let people know that no matter how bad you think this guy is, deep inside, if he's a real man and a real father, he's going to do the right thing for his family.
Well, you said he gave his life for his son.
Yeah,
Yes.
because after he killed the emperor
Mm-hmm.
and threw the emperor down this huge slot that the emperor actually, perished, he fell out. He fell out and he passed away.
Wow.
And it's if you didn't, you have to see it. I know you're not a Star Wars fan, but I'm gonna encourage you to watch this one day, man, and check it out.
After this episode, maybe today over the weekend, I'll probably look that up. So let's
And
kick
then
this.
you'll get a better appreciation on what I'm talking about, on how Darth Vader
Right.
was. He was man. He'll choke your ass to death without even touching you. So like I say, these Star Wars fans who's watching the show right now, you know what I'm talking about. But let's get this started here, bro.
Let's
Let's
get
get
this
this
party
started.
started. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening wherever you are in the world. And welcome to the Men's Lounge LA. I'm your host, Frederick Douglass Southern, aka Sir Frederick.
And I'm your co-host and partner in these conversations, Coach Chris. Welcome to the Men's Lounge LA.
Here at the Men's Lounge LA, our mission is simple. We empower good men to become greater men. We empower men to embrace their masculinity and humanity. And yes, we aim to stimulate the women at the same time because without our women, we wouldn't be properly balanced.
I always tip my hat to the women. I was raised by a single mom, so we know how important the women are to this platform. And we're going to always do what we can to make sure the women know we are part of their life, even though this says the Men's Lounge LA. Welcome to the show, women. We love you guys.
Today's conversation isn't just a podcast, it's a reckoning, it's a revelation. And for some of you listening, it may be a mirror.
It's definitely a mirror for me. It's no question about that, because I've been living this my entire life. I've been trying to find my dad my entire life. And people who know me know this story. And I've told you the story myself before as well. So at this point, grab your cigar, get your cocktail, kick back and relax, and let's try to enjoy this show.
We're talking about fathers, not just men who create life, but the men who shape it, the men who show up, and the impact when truth is delayed, hidden, or even discovered late. This is Finding Fathers, a daughter's perspective. Today, we're opening a story that sits at the intersection of identity, health, legacy, and responsibility. It's about a story that what happens when biology speaks before people are ready. And what that means is the truth, it showed up 35 years later, and it's coming up right after this.
They're good men, but I should be outside and they need to be addressed. Excuse me, sir. Quiet, you brain. Wrong mental problem.
Yay, yay. I love
Quiet, Frank.
that.
Grown men are talking. I love that,
That's
man.
right. That's right. I love that. Hey, a shout out to our mentors and our help that we've been having through this whole journey and process that we're going through here at the Men's Lounge. That was done by comedian D. Patrick in Chicago, from Chicago, and our other homie and mentor out there, Ray, the Stormbreaker Gage.
Yes.
What's up with you today,
Uh,
my brother? How you doing?
this week has been a long week. I've had a couple of doctor's appointments, and I'm teaching a class online that is self mastery, and wait until Friday, the magical day, to get this podcast together on finding fathers.
Yeah, yeah.
Finding fathers, yeah, a daughter's experience. So I've had
Perspective.
both perspective, yeah.
Experience, perspective, they kind of go together from what we know about this on bringing her in. I'm happy that she's joined us because this has been my lifelong story, man. I've told you many a times about my dad. As a matter of fact, you and I went to Mississippi early last year, to meet
Yes,
my
yes.
brothers and sisters on my dad's side for the first time in my life. And I was 61 at the time. I'm 62 now. Six figures in age is what we say here in the Men's Lounge LA. Six figures in age. So, to be able to meet them and be a part of their life and learn some stuff about my dad, which we will get to later on after this particular, because this is episode 1 of a series on finding fathers, because we know that this is not the only people, myself and our upcoming guests, who have the reasons and urges to try to find their biological dad. So this means a lot to me. I'm looking forward to this show.
Today you'll hear from Breona, 38-year-old woman whose understanding of family changed through and from a medical diagnosis, which led her to finding her biological father. And Brian learned he had a daughter decades too late, or maybe just in the right time. What happens when a revelation rewrites your identity as a man and a father? This is a story of recovery, discovery, reckoning, and the slow, intentional work of building something real from here forward. So, this is Finding Fathers, a daughter's perspective. Let's just jump right in. Yeah, we want to bring Brianna to the stage, who discovered that she was raised by a father and then discovered that that was not her biological father. And I shared with her that this story is typical. You're not the first and you're not the last, but it's unique to her. And she has a message. She has a message, and we want to share that message as we bring her to the stage. Brianna.
Hello.
Hello,
How are you?
I am
Welcome to
fine. And
good. Welcome to the Men's Lounge LA. We're
So,
happy to have you here.
this is what the Men's Lounge LA looks like.
Yeah, that one there, if you go back and watch our show on PFA, you'll see what that means, especially for you listening audience haven't seen that PFA episode that we have on YouTube. That's a funny one. That's a funny one, but we do welcome you to the show, Brianna. How you feeling today?
I'm feeling pretty good. How about yourself?
Good, good, good. Real brief here before we bring up our next guest. Can you explain just a little bit briefly on what brought you here today to tell your story?
Well, Sir Frederick reached out because he's a little familiar with my story. And I am aware through going through this journey and my own research that this is fairly, I don't want to say fairly common, but definitely more common than what people think.
Mm.
I'm sure. I'm sure. I'm sure your story is going to resonate and I'm sure it's going to help a lot of other people, male and female, from what you experience going through this process. And like I was saying earlier, before you came on, about me as a young boy wanting to know who my dad, was my entire life, and I was able to find him later on. Like I said, we're going to do another show on that, and I might even have you as a guest on that show when we do it, since I'm a guest on your show. So, I think you'd be happy and interesting to hear my story on this, because I know how important dads are. I'm a dad. I have 2 sons. As a matter of fact, I had breakfast with my oldest son this morning. It was great. So, dads are very important, and but you have a very unique story, and we'll get into that. So, Sir Frederick, did you want to bring up the other guests, or did you want to ask more of a question or two before we bring him up?
Actually, let's she's the main guest. Let's just get into how she got here, discovering that her raised dad was not her biological dad, and let's focus on that for a minute before we bring the bio dad up and go from there. So, Breona, how did this all happen?
Well, this started, I'll say 1990. I have always known that I had a different biological father than my siblings. No one ever told me. It was just a feeling that I had. I always felt different and kind of out of place. And I woke up one morning, probably when I was about, I say maybe like 9 or 10 years old, and I said, something doesn't belong here. That something is you, and that's because you have a different father. And nobody told me that. Although when things came out later on down the line, my dad who raised me did tell me that when I was about maybe 3 or 4, I would come up to him and tell him that he wasn't my father. I don't remember this, but this is what he told me. So at about 9 or 10, I carried that as my truth. I didn't tell anyone in my family. About 12 years old, I told 2 of my best friends, and they just kind of looked at me like I was crazy because we were 12. And it did, thinking back on it, it does sound crazy coming from a 6th grader walking up to your friend saying I have a different father when their entire lives they've known my dad to be my dad. But just to carry the story a little bit further along, when I was pregnant with my first son, they do genetic testing with women to find out if your kids have Down syndrome. They check for sickle cells, all types of things.
Right.
So I got my blood test results back, and I have a blood trait called beta thalassemia. Beta thalassemia is similar to sickle cell, where at least one of your parents have to have it in order for you to carry the trait. And if both your parents have it, then you have the disorder. So when my doctor told me, I believe she was telling me it's kind of a precaution, like you need to make sure that the child's father doesn't have this trait as well.
Got you.
Then the child will have the full-blown disorder, beta thalassemia. So his father didn't have the trait, but I took this information to my parents. I took it to my dad who raised me, and he was like, well, I don't have this blood trait. I don't think anybody in my family has it. He called his mother. His mother verified that nobody in the family had it. I asked my mother, and she said she never heard of it. She doesn't have it, and I need to find a new doctor.
Really?
Yes. So at that point, I'm like, this is science. I'm going to believe the doctor. So what I did was I had another conversation with my father that raised me. And I said, well, this is what mama told me, and this is what's happening. One of you all have to have this blood trait in order for me to have it. It doesn't make sense. So we got kind of quiet. He didn't say anything. And to kind of ease the tension, I said, well, if you don't have a blood trait, that means somebody out there owes me 18 years of back child support, and I'm going to split it with you. So, we laughed it off, but we never talked about it again after that. So I'm going on with life, and I'd say about maybe 2012, I just got the urge to look for my biological father again. So I'm having a conversation with my older sibling, my older sister, who's 10 years older than me, and I tell her about the blood trait. And her exact words to me were, "Oh, girl, I know who your daddy is."
Wow.
And this is a full conversation. Now, let me say, my sister was a little intoxicated, and I knew that.
So when she was a little intoxicated, what'd you do? Make her another drink?
Well, This was over the phone, so I did encourage her to get another one. I did encourage her.
That's funny. That's funny.
So when she said that, she told me everything. She told me his name, that he grew up with our mother, and her and I never talked about it again. But I held on to that information, and maybe like the next weekend, I'm sitting down with two of my friends, and I tell them, I said, my sister told me my biological father's name. And at first, the one friend that I have, which is one of my friends that I told when we were 12, she didn't believe me. My other friend, I don't know if she believed me at that point or not, but she played along with me. She said, oh, girl, let's Google him. Let's look him up. So we Googled his name. He didn't come up, but a picture of his brother came up.
Mm.
And when we saw the picture, my friend looked at the computer screen. She looked at me and she said, oh, yeah, that's your daddy. Because
Wow.
I favored his brother so much. So again, 2012, I still didn't do anything. I had the picture. I will Google him from time to time. Well, I had his brother picture. I'm sorry. I will Google him from time to time. A picture never came up. So I had an aunt that I was very close to. Actually, she was probably like my best friend. She passed away in May of 2022. And she was very big on knowing who you are and where you come from. One of her favorite sayings was, you can't know where you're going if you don't know where you come from.
I've heard that before. Mm-hmm.
That just lit a fire in me to take it seriously and to find him. So what I ended up doing is I ordered an ancestry DNA kit. Took the kit, I spit in the vial. I sent my test back. The first test I sent back, it got lost in the mail or something. I don't know what happened. So they rushed me out another kit. I sent the other kit back, got the results back. I was actually at my nephew's birthday party when I got the email back. And because I was so frantic, I scrolled through the email, opened it up just to see if I found any familiar names from my dad's side. No familiar names from his side, but I saw the last name that my sister gave me a decade prior.
When you started doing this search and you pulled them up and you found them, what was going through your mind at the time? What was going through your mind at the time? Did you ever mention this to your parents or anything? But
no.
More specifically, what was going through your mind?
I was anxious. I was a little nervous because obviously I knew that the father that raised me wasn't my biological father, because at that point I had medical evidence. But I still couldn't wrap my head around it. It's like I knew, but I didn't want to believe.
So by you knowing this evidence, that's ironclad because it's DNA test, did you approach your father that raised you at that point, or did you still keep it to yourself until you found your biological dad?
I kept it to myself until I found him. How
much time went by since that?
So I got the test results back early November 2022. The ancestry test results back.
Oh, this was recent.
2022, yes.
Okay, so how old are you now?
I'm 38.
And how old were you when you confirmed all this information?
35.
Wow, so this is real recent, just 3 years ago.
Yes.
Wow.
So did you said you held off on approaching him, or was that because the shock of the whole thing, obviously to a degree, or is it that you don't want to bring back this information that you had because they didn't tell you the truth? I mean, what was the dynamics there? How did you end up getting this over to them, and how long did it take again?
Well, I wanted to make sure I had all my ducks in a row.
Okay, doing your research, yeah.
Yes, did I continue to do research? And I would say from the time I took that first ancestry DNA test and reached out to him, and I actually told my father who raised me, it was probably like 2 or 3 months.
Oh, wow. Okay. So during that 2 or 3 months, you were doing your research on trying to find your actual biological dad?
Oh, no, I found him like in 3 days after I took that ancestry.
Wow.
That fast?
Yes.
Wow.
So I got the test results back on a Saturday. I called my mother that Saturday evening. I said, I took ancestry DNA. Nobody in daddy's family, and I'm referring to the father that raised me, nobody in his family name came up. Like, what is going on? Tell me something. She continued to deny it. So that made me mad. And I was like, you know what? I'm about to find my father. So Monday, that following Monday, I spent literally all day Googling his name. I'm calling people that are related to him. Anything that came up in a Google search, I'm calling or I'm sending emails. I emailed his former job. I found the old email address for his job. I emailed one of his cousins at their job. I'm just pulling up anything that comes up. I'm sending out, I'm calling, I'm sending out emails. So I came across a name of, and I'm not going to put the young lady's name out there. I came across a name, and because of the name and the age, I figured that she would probably be a sister. So I called the number, and she called me back, and I said, "Hey, my name is Breona. I'm looking for Brian. I could possibly be his daughter."
Okay.
No, she didn't feel comfortable giving me his telephone number, which is fine. So I gave her my information, and like 2 to 3 hours later, he called me back. And come to find out, this was actually my older brother's ex-wife.
Your older brother, ex-wife. So when you learn that the man who raised you is not your biological father, what kind of thoughts went through your mind?
I was angry. I was angry because I had asked, I've taken this situation to him and my mother before, and no one told me the truth. Also, it was confirming because I knew that I wasn't crazy my whole life.
Right.
I knew this gut feeling that I had that it was true.
Did your understanding of your identity shift in that moment?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah. So did your understanding of your identity, did it shift in that moment because you figure that you're part of this family, you've been raised in this particular family using their last name, and so now you've discovered that this is not your biological dad. What'd that do to your identity? What kind of identity shift did you have?
Well, I think because I felt my whole life that I didn't belong, I probably always struggled with identity.
So that was like an easier transition for you, basically?
Right. It was an easier transition because it's like, okay, now I can find out who I really am.
Okay. So that journey started at that point. Did it come up with an excitement level, or you just have some fear involved with this whole thing to where, should I pursue this because of these deception? For lack of a better word, during this entire time?
No, I was ready to do it. I was ready after my mother, after I had that conversation with her where she continued to deny it. I was like, I'm tired of it. I need to find out who I am. So I was ready to do it at that point.
Hold on, Frederick. Hold on a second.
Okay.
Hold on a second. Now, when you said continue to deny it, we're not trying to put your mom on blast, but this is actually big for our listening audience because some other people might have the same dynamic of denial. Why do you think she denied something like that when the evidence shows through the scientific evidence that you say you believe in, and obviously was true because of the DNA test? Why is she continuing to deny it like that when it's obviously true?
I can't answer that. You know, people have their own personal reasons for doing things, and everybody has to go through their own journey. And I believe my mother is still going through her journey.
Okay. That's fair. Because, I don't know if there was a communication. That's why I asked that question. If she was communication like, hey, you know what, this, that, and the other. But obviously she has her reasons to have this denial. But is that still denied today? Or is she, because you're talking about 3 years ago, she's still denying it after 3 years? Or is there some acceptance and you just move on with your life and then create this bond or relationship with your bio dad?
I can't really say that she denies it, but her and I don't talk about it.
Okay.
How did this revelation impact your relationship with your parents?
Well, I don't really have a relationship any longer with my mother. It's just been a combination of things. And the relationship with my father that raised me is a little bit strained. Him and I do still talk, but it's just a little bit strained right now.
What was your relationship like before this truth came out?
It was good. It was good.
So is there any repairing this? Because obviously there's a lot of strain going on here with this revelation.
Well, I feel like I have done my part to the best of my ability. And if anybody else cares to want to repair any fracture in the relationship, then then the ball is in their court.
When your
Okay.
sister shared this information with you, you were what? How 10 years old or
No,
no?
I was about
She's 10
maybe
years older than you.
right, but I was maybe about 20, 24, 25.
Ah, so when she shared this information with you, what thoughts what thoughts ran through your mind about your mother?
I didn't think about her at all, honestly.
Ah,
When my sister told me, I didn't think about my mother at all. I just thought about finding who I'm related to.
got you. So
You
you
know,
were go ahead,
I'm
Chris. Go
yeah,
ahead,
I'm
Carl.
sorry to interrupt there because when you had mentioned that how you did your search and it reminded me of Frederick and I last year when I was going through the process of trying to find my brother because I had a phone relationship with my dad, and that's all it was. I never got a chance to sit down with him face to face and embrace him and stuff like that. So, and it was a good relationship. Don't get me wrong, because we would talk every day, and this was in the let's say late '90s, and head into the early 2000s. And I had lost contact with my brother. So Frederick and I were just sitting here, and we're going through some processes here on trying to find people. We were able to find his wife's phone number, called her, left her a message, and she
Yeah.
called back. And it kind of reminded me when you said that you got a phone call back within a couple of hours. That's
Mhm.
a similar situation with me. They called back pretty quick. I can't remember exactly how long it was. Frederick, you were there because I think we used your phone.
Yeah, we
How
did.
long?
We
How
did
long
every
was that? It was pretty quick, wasn't it?
it was pretty
When,
quick. Yeah, it was
yeah,
pretty
when
quick.
Hilda called back. So you making me think on how you and I are experiencing the same thing, but in different situations because you had the dad that you say raised dad. I didn't have that. I was raised by a true single mom. So and when I say true single mom, that means she had no help from no man. It was just her and her children, me and my two other brothers. I'm the middle child. So yeah, when that happened, you made me think back, and I got a smile on my face thinking about it now because I was able to get back in touch with my brother Billy, and then a couple of months later went to Mississippi and got a chance to meet them, and Frederick was part of that. But I'm not gonna go too far because you're making me talk about my show, but it's about you right now. It's about you. It's about you. But I'm just saying, I feel your passion. I really do because you and I have so much in common with this particular topic. But this is your perspective. But with that said, apparently you were able to reach your dad. And when you did, how did that first encounter go with your dad, your biological dad?
Honestly, when I first talked to him, I thought he was crazy. That's because I didn't expect the phone call so quick. And the conversation was, I think in my mind, I thought it was going to be something like off of TV where he was like, oh no, I'm not your father. I don't even know who your mother is. But it was nothing like that. He asked me my name, my age, asked me my mother's name. And then once I said that, he was like, oh yeah, you're probably my daughter.
so, so he accepted it with open arms.
Right
And
then and there.
okay, that's a good. That's a good man.
Nice, nice.
Because
I apologize for cutting you off,
no, that's
Coach.
all right. That's all right.
Her bio dad, Brian, was here. He came on, he left, and I think he's having technical difficulties. So I'm just waiting for him to click back in so we can get his side of the story and all that. But Breonna, this is this is not uncommon. This happens a lot. Matter of fact, out of all the DNA tests that are performed, 30% of them come back as not the biological father. And these are just the ones that are tested. It's a shame. It's tough, and I think that mandatory DNA testing ought to be done at birth, and to determine that, because it's a shame that you went 35 years. You lived a lie. Okay, here's Brian. He's trying to get back in. You lived a lie or misunderstanding. Your mother lived a lie for 35 years, you know, trying to get folks to believe and that your dad that raised you was your biological father, but that wasn't the truth. And what goes on in the dark always comes out in the light. And what brought it to light was your blood situation, your blood dilemma. They didn't have that trait. They didn't have what you had. So you're like, what's really going on here?
Yeah.
Like I say, this means a lot to me as far as the story. Your journey is similar to mine when it comes down to the search. My search was different because I did it in the late 90s, early 2000s, before Google and all this other stuff. To be able to get in contact with him and then have that. When you guys first got together face to face, because apparently you must have talked to him over the phone when you said you thought he was crazy. When you got together with him face to face and you actually saw him, what was that feeling like for you?
It was kind of surreal because I think that my oldest son looks a lot like him.
Wow.
A lot. So the first time I saw him in person, we actually ended up doing an official DNA test, and we had been talking for maybe like 2 weeks before we actually saw each other in person. I sent him a few pictures of myself. My older sister actually, once I told her everything that I had found him, I was able to see one picture. It really wasn't a good picture that she pulled up from my brother's social media page, but seeing him in person, I was like, wow, he looks a lot like my son.
Okay. Did you come with someone or you went alone?
I went by myself.
Okay. Go ahead, Frederick.
No, Brian. Okay, one last question, and we're going to bring Brian up. Your children. How many children do you have?
I have 2.
Okay, and what are their ages and genders?
2 boys, 15 and 8. Well,
Okay.
16, he's about to be 16 and 8.
All right. Now, all this time, up until 3 years ago, they just took the family for what it was, you being raised by your raised dad and all that. When this information came to light, how did you break this information to them, and how did they respond to it?
Well, my oldest son was 12 at the time, so he understood it better than my youngest son, who was only 5.
Right.
And I just set them down and I said, I found out that Papa is, which is what they call my father that raised me, is not my biological father. And 12-year-old son, well, 12 at the time, he got it right away. He was like, oh, he was kind of in a state of shock. And then he said, well, I always knew something was wrong because we don't really look like them.
Can I ask you a question about their relationship now? Since you said there's a bit of a strain between your mom and the dad that raised you, how is the relationship with your children with them as grandparents? Because they're still grandparents.
Yeah.
It's okay. It could be better. The situation, not to kind of get off track, when everything came to light, I don't think the adults in the situation handled it the best way it should have been handled. So as a result, it kind of trickled down, the negative impact kind of trickled down to the kids. But I do believe, regardless of where my relationship is at with my parents, that the relationship they have with their grandchildren is going to get back on the up and up, and it's going to be, remain strong.
Yeah. Well, I hope it repairs because, family to me is everything, but it's got to be obviously healthy. If it's not healthy, then you got to do what's best for you when it comes down to how you need to raise your children and actually this new journey in your life. That's just my opinion. And my opinion means nothing other than my opinion, because I'm a family man, and I get it. I mean, like I say, I've traveled this journey, but my sons are accepting all of this, obviously, because the dynamics are different. And they knew I was raised by, their grandmother, a single mom, which they were close to her passing. She passed in 2022. When you talk about 2022 and how all this stuff transpired, I lost my mom in 2022. So and then now I have no mom and no dad at this point in my life, but I have lived a pretty long, prosperous life. But it's important for the children to know their grandparents, like I did and like you did, I'm sure. So that's just my take on that particular part. That's why I was concerned about their well-being. Speaking of that, do you, consider having any kind of therapy for this? Because obviously it's a huge trauma for everyone. What are you doing for self-care when it comes to this particular part with you and your children?
Well, I've been in therapy off and on for maybe about a decade now.
Wow.
Um,
Good for you.
and I am the type of parent that I do believe in. If your children express that they need someone to talk to, you get them someone to talk to. So my oldest son has done it. The younger son, not so much, but my sons and I, we have a really good relationship. They come talk to me about just about anything. And I think as long as I keep the doors of communication open, then I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, good. Look like you have a strong will and presence in their life, and that's a good thing because they need that, especially during this, crazy time that you're dealing with from all things that went down, and I commend you. You have the support from the Men's Lounge LA, and there's no doubt about that because from what I'm hearing, it seemed like these, like you say, adults are the ones that's being a little bit selfish here from what I'm hearing, especially when it comes down to how things they're breaking down just from this, the situation. I don't want to be critical, but I just don't like the way they're acting because it's not about them, it's about you.
Well, and that brings me to my next question. When this all came to light, what was the atmosphere, the temperature of the atmosphere around you, and was there anyone supportive?
Well, I have very supportive friends. Like I mentioned earlier, my friends have known this since we were kids. Now, it was a shock when everything came out to be true. They just thought I was the crazy little girl that didn't like her mother. But my friends have been very supportive, extremely supportive.
Well, what about your family members? Because they're the ones that knew. A lot of them knew this all along. Matter of fact, in a previous conversation, you told me that everyone else knew, and you were the last one to know. How'd that make you? How'd that make you feel?
I just kind of laughed it off because this whole time as a little kid, I'm feeling this way. And it's like everybody around me can see that she's struggling with something, and you all had the answer to it and nobody told me. And when I say my entire family knew, uncles, cousins, even cousins that are like 10 years younger than me knew.
Wow.
It was like an open secret.
Wow. See, that's the thing I'm kind of, curious about, that since a lot of people know about it, why is there such a divide here with the relationships when now I don't get that part. Why is that divide there? But it wasn't that much of a big secret from all the people you're saying that knew this.
Well, I think it's been a disruption to people's comfort zone.
Yeah, but they knew about it.
Well, people knew, but it wasn't in the open though.
They knew, but it wasn't their place to expose it.
Right, that's fair to say. So other family members did know, and I've had conversations with a few cousins. They said, we saw that your parents were operating and they accepted it. So it wasn't our place. We just had to accept it and operate in the same manner in which they were operating. Wow. In regards to my immediate family, I disrupted their status quo. I disrupted their comfort zone. And when you disrupt something that somebody's comfortable with, it makes you public enemy number one. And I've just accepted that.
So hold on, I gotta ask this question because this is actually bothering me. So if I'm hearing you correctly, they wanted you to know this now because of the blood test and how this came out, and you found out who your biological dad is, but not pursue it. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
No, they didn't want me to know it. Because remember, after I found out I had that trait, my mother told me to find a new doctor.
So the doctor's lying. The doctor's wrong.
Yeah, according to her. So I think that they would have been happy if I've never said anything. And when I did, because I told my sisters and my mother before I told my father that raised me that I found my biological father. And they wanted me to keep it a secret.
You know, I'm going to talk to the listening audience here for a minute. And the reason why I want to do that is because the things that she's going through is just, to me, unreasonable. It makes no sense because everybody's not really thinking about her well-being when it comes to the whole thing, in my opinion, because of the blood deal. Don't let this stop you from trying to find your dad. If you think you're going to have the same, outcome of people not being happy about the results, try to find that dad. That dad is important because look how important it was in her life to find out where this trait came from. It could have been detrimental to her baby, so don't let this stop you from finding that dad because of what you hear in her story. You can see her urgency and her willingness and her drive to do this, regardless of the outcome of what people are thinking. So that's why I said commend you for doing this, Breona. I mean, this is incredible. Please, listen to audience, anybody who's going through this, do not cease trying to find that dad.
Actually, you're very, very courageous because everyone else wanted to keep it a secret. Not only keep it a secret, but to keep this image that they have that they're good people or nice people, this, that, and the other. But this exposes something about the woman who started this entire thing. And I wish Brian, your bio dad, I'm looking at the camera, the screen, he's trying to connect, but and he's buffering.
Yeah, it looked like we're having a little issue.
He's having issues.
This recording right now is happening where there's a huge winter storm going on in Chicago and throughout the Midwest, and a lot of people are affected by this. So it could be weather related, but if he comes on, we definitely going to address this with him because he has a lot to say about it as well, especially considering this is his daughter. I'm sure he has a lot to say. So if he comes on, we definitely will get his story. If not, then we'll probably revisit this with him on a later date. But at this point, she's saying a lot of very compelling stuff that I want you guys to really grasp and understand as a listening audience on what she has gone through and going through still at this point. And look at her. She seems very calm. She seems very sure about herself on what she's doing. And there doesn't seem to be anything other than her well-being that she's thinking about. And I can appreciate that. Like he said, you're very courageous. You got, I'm applaud you. I applaud you.
Yeah.
Big time. I applaud you.
And Fred, just to kind of piggyback off what you were saying, I do want to stress this. My parents are good people. People make mistakes. And when I tell people this story, I say it all the time. I'm from the 80s. I was born in the 80s. 80s was a wild time. So things.
I do know that.
things happened. It was crack was new. AIDS was coming. A lot of stuff happened. Now, they wasn't on crack, but still, a lot of stuff happened. So, and at the end of the day, your parents are people. They're people trying to figure out life just like you are.
Well, you're talking to two old dudes who lived in the 80s, so I know what you're talking about.
But I have to commend you. With this attitude. How has healing changed? Has healing changed the way you see things or forgiveness? Where are you in the forgiveness process?
Well, now see, that's a difficult one. Well, I'll say this. I think healing is an ongoing process. You're never really fully healed.
Got you.
That's something you have to work towards on a continuous basis, sometimes depending on the situation, on a daily basis. I think everybody is always healing from something.
That's true.
In regards to forgiveness, I try to forgive. I try to forgive. It's difficult when you don't have people meet you halfway.
Ah,
Well, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
You know. So I would say, from talking to you, during the meet and greet, meeting you before, and going through this particular part of the story now,
ooh, there
you
he is.
you're on the right track.
Thank you.
It looked like we got Brian here.
Oh,
Yeah, he's
snap.
going in and out. Yeah.
Oh, snap. He was.
Just for the listening audience, that's her biological dad, and we really want to get him on the show because he has a lot of input on this, and we're disappointed for all of us, you guys too, and the listening audience, that he's having these technical issues. But like I say, there's a huge winter storm that's ravishing the Midwest and part of Texas, and I'm sure the people out there know what I'm talking about if you watch this show later on. And it's not good. So I think this might be weather related because he was on with us earlier before we started the show.
Yeah, he plugged in first. So,
Yeah, yeah. We talked to him for about 15 minutes before it started, and we had a great conversation. We wanted to continue this, but just bear with us, guys. We're going to do what we can to get him on, and it's all predicated on connection. So, but go ahead, Breona.
Yeah, so forgiveness is something I'm still working on.
well, it's still fresh. And has your mother taking any sense of accountability or responsibility for her actions?
I don't know. I don't talk to my mother.
But even when you stop the conversation, even when that stopped, before it stopped, at any point does she take accountability for her actions, or her? It started with her.
I can't say.
So
her and I don't. We don't really.
that's
We
fair.
don't talk about it.
That's fair. I don't want to. Honestly, I don't want to put you through that right now because that's an emotional thing. I'm sure, like
I
you
mean,
said,
it's not really
it was
emotional.
fine.
Not to cut you off. It's not really emotional. It is what it is.
Which is an emotion. Your emotion is you accepting what it is. It's a real deal. I'm not trying to take away from what you're saying because you are dealing with this, and you're dealing with this in a manner to where I think it's just unreasonable, and it actually pisses me off. So my emotions might show more than you right now,
Mm-hmm.
and I
So,
don't know those people. I don't know them. I'm just hearing your story, and I don't really appreciate the way you're being treated on something you had nothing to do with. So
so how are you holding up right now? How are you holding up?
I'm fine.
Okay. Excuse me.
it's a tough story.
It's a tough story. And you say that are you still in therapy? You've been in therapy for 10 years. Are you still in therapy?
So I go on and off now. I treat it kind of like on an as needed basis.
Gotcha.
I haven't had a session in maybe like a year or two, maybe. My goal for this year, and I was supposed to do it last year, is for my bio dad and I to have therapy together.
Got you.
I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to ask you, how are you guys building a relationship, considering from everything that's happening on the other end when it comes down to what you're saying that's happening with your raised father? Obviously, that's your mother, so it's not like it's your raised mother. That's your mom. We already know the dynamics of that. You explained it. How are you guys building a relationship with your bio dad? I know that's probably a slow process because it's still new. How's that turning out right now? Since you mentioned that you guys are looking to go to therapy together, how's that going?
Overall, it's good. We
Okay.
get along fairly well. I think I don't want to say we bump heads because we don't really bump heads, but I do think sometimes it's difficult because it's not like he met me as a child. He met me and I was a fully grown woman.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That's why I ask, because you said you were 35
Yes.
when all this came to the forefront, and now you're 38 3 years
Yes.
ago. So obviously a 35-year-old woman raised by another man, you're set in what certain ways. Now, do you see something going on with how he is compared to this other man that raised you is that you can get along with, or what it's kind of, I don't want to try to be disrespectful to anybody, so I'm kind of fumbling my words here, but obviously you're building a relationship. I see him here. Hopefully we can get his voice. I'm going to bring him up and see if he can hear us. If so, that's fine. We can at least get his voice involved with this. Brian, can you hear us? So his mic's probably not on either. Can you hear us, Brian?
So while he's trying to plug in, I'm glad you mentioned that you were in therapy and you're working through this. From therapy, what's the biggest takeaway for you that you've gotten from therapy?
Don't expect people to react to a situation the way you would react.
That's an expectation. I like that. Yeah. Don't expect.
Or no expectation. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right. No expectations would probably be a better way to to say that, to phrase that. And also you have to set boundaries.
What kind of boundaries?
Everybody's boundary is going to look different. So for me, some of my boundaries include loving people from a distance. Some of my boundaries include not sharing everything that's going on in my life with certain people.
Got you.
Okay, going back to your biological dad, you said that you guys are building this relationship, which is great. And you say you getting along. What have you learned about him in this short period of time that you wish you knew about earlier?
That's a great question.
Ooh, that is a great question because I've never thought about it.
Give me something to think about.
Yeah. So him and I are actually a lot alike. We're very prideful individuals. We can be extremely blunt. He reminds me a lot of my son, not just in the way he looks, but my son also acts like him, also has a lot of his mannerisms. I learned that he's also a very accomplished man. Education was also always big in my household, growing up, the household I grew up in, and he's very big on education also. Mm-hmm. And overall, he's a good man. He's I guess what you all would call a man's man. I think he's old school, old fashioned when it comes to certain things, but overall, he's a very good man.
Yeah, we've talked to him. He's definitely a strong-willed guy. He's the kind of guy I hang out with a lot, So seriously, I've been around, obviously strong men in my life who, even though I was raised by a single mom who molded me to be who I am today, I can kick it with him all day and understand that what he's all about, and then be able to converse with him like no big deal. He doesn't intimidate me, but he seems like a very intimidating guy when he talks, which is a good thing because that shows that he's confident. He's very confident.
Have these two parents met? Have your bio dad and raised met? Your bio dad and your raised dad, have they met? Have they talked or met or anything?
So they've met. They've been in the same room. I believe they shook hands once, but they've never had a conversation.
Wow.
You were there to see that? You were there to see that?
Yes.
Or he told. How did you feel when you saw that? Did it seem uncomfortable, or because of what's going on, or did you think it was going to be, how did it turn out?
It turned out like nothing because it was just a handshake. This was like maybe the second time they met. It was a handshake, but no conversation.
And what setting was this for it to be in that room? Was it something set up by you so they can meet each other? I mean,
yes, this was the first time that they actually saw each other was at my younger son's birthday party at a restaurant. No, they didn't speak at all. And then the second time was at my older son's 8th grade graduation party, where they spoke and shook hands, but that was it. So both events were events that I set up. I would have loved for them to sit down and talk, but for reasons beyond my control, that hasn't happened yet.
Did they know each other back then?
They knew of each other.
but not know each other as far as friends or
No.
So, okay, just in passing, basically.
Right, in passing.
But I understood that his children went to school with you.
No. Well, my all my siblings ended up at the same school. So all my older siblings.
Right.
Is this some kind of small town in Chicago? It seems like everybody know each other.
No, it was that neighborhood.
Yeah, Chicago's big, but it's small at the same time.
Well, I knew that, but that's why I was asking, because you saying everybody kind of kind of coexisted.
Well,
kind of way.
My parents, my biological father and my mother grew up together.
Okay, so they knew each other, not in passing, but they knew each other. Okay,
they knew each other. Yes, so
got you.
Probably how the kids ended up at the school, and then the grammar school they went to was in the late 80s, early 90s. It was kind of popular.
Oh, okay.
If there's a daughter listening right now who feels disconnected from her father, what would you want to say to her? What would you want her to know? What would you want to tell her?
First, find out if that's your daddy. First, go ahead and take the ancestry DNA test. But in all seriousness, you got to build a connection. Let me say this. First, the onus is on the father to want to build that connection.
Yeah, I agree.
The onus is on the father to want to build that connection. I'm very fortunate that my situation turned out the way it did, because during my research, and I was on YouTube, on Google, it was a lot of men and women that were in my same situation where their biological father wanted nothing to do with them.
Really? How did that strike you? Seeing that you were eager to find your bio dad and to see people on YouTube just the opposite. How did that hit you?
It's sad. It's kind of sad, especially for people that thought they were going to have this fairy tale ending, and to knock on someone's door and they say, I have a life, or I never, I knew about you, but I never wanted anything to do with you in the first place. It's sad, because at the end of the day, no child asked to be here. And I get it. Life happens. But you know what? Also, in the same token, in some of these situations, it may be better that you have nothing to do with that person. You don't know the type of person they are. Somebody does not, they may be doing you a favor. If somebody does not want to be a part of your life, they may be doing you a favor.
I agree with that way.
I agree with that 100%, because when I was able to get in touch with my dad by phone, and like I say, he and I only had a phone conversation for years before he passed, and I didn't get a chance to, like I say, to see him face to face and embrace him. It was my first thing I said to him is like, hey, I'm not trying to ruin anything that you got going on in your life. I just wanted to know who my dad is. So, and his first words to me is like, no, I never denied you, son. And when he said that, that gave me a sense of release to just go ahead and pursue some kind of communication with him to figure out what we can do to build a relationship. But you're right. There are some men out there, we don't call them dads, men out there that do not want to have anything to do with their children. And that's why I said at the beginning, when we showed that clip of Luke, I'm your father, that was the bad guy. Darth Vader was a bad guy, but his son changed him because he saved his son's life. So there are some men out there that's portrayed to be bad, but they still want to be a part of their children's life. And then things like this can bring that out. And in most cases, it may not happen, like you said about these TikToks. In some cases, like you and me, it worked out.
Yeah. I have a question. Do you all want me to see if I can get Brian on the phone so maybe you all can hear him through the phone?
Yeah, let's try that. Man, we're happy to have your voice on, because right now your story is just as important as what we've been talking about with your daughter. So, go ahead and kind of explain who you are to her and kind of how this whole thing came to you. And we can go from there.
Tell us your story. How did it all begin?
The story is the answer to that. So I knew my mother when I was 13. had just moved from the projects to 100 Wallace. And as I told Breona the other day, I think I was probably a little bit depressed because I didn't want to move with 13 and leave all my friends. But mother and I went to 8th grade together. We went to Fatherhood. Probably didn't say 5 words to each other. I was the star of the basketball team, though, so a lot of girls liked me, but I wasn't thinking about them. I just wanted to play ball. Get back to the
An athlete.
go ahead. Fast forward, get to high school. Me and her mom in high school together. Probably didn't say 20 words to her in 4 years of high school. No. Fast forward again. 1986. I graduated from Breona. I didn't graduate in 86. I graduated in 81. But get to high school reunion, she's all over me. So I'm 28. So I'm not a little kid anymore. Not that 13-year-old boy. So what happened.
And when that happened, obviously you guys must have lost contact because you didn't realize that she was impregnated, or did you find out she was pregnant?
So I guess I shouldn't really say it like that. We probably had I was living in New Orleans. I was working on a oil rig production platform, and so we had a year and a half relationship. Like I would fly back and forth from Chicago to New Orleans, probably once a month, once every 2 months, and I would see her mom there.
Okay.
When you guys reconnected through this class reunion, what was your relationship? What was your relationship status, and what was hers? And in terms of marriage or single, or what was the status?
He was married. I was having fun. I guess I must have had a girlfriend or two. I don't know. 86. I probably got 86. I think I had a girlfriend.
So she was married. You said she was married and you had a girlfriend.
Yeah, but I wasn't serious about nobody. I'm 28 years old. I'm living in New Orleans. I'm flying back and forth from Chicago to New Orleans. I'm just out there having fun.
Mm.
If I had a girlfriend and she's listening, I'm sorry.
After 35 years, I don't think she would care. And if she does,
probably not.
Yeah, at least you're man enough to apologize. So when you first met your Breona, your daughter, how was that encounter for you?
So I think the first thing we did was we went and took a DNA test, right, Breona?
Yes. So maybe like a week or two after we talked, we took the DNA test, the official DNA test.
And then I took her to lunch, and I was hoping I wasn't her father. Because, you think about all the time you missed, the years, you can never get that back. You think about for me, and I told her, it's the people who have passed on, my mom, all my sisters, that would have been very influential in her life, that we don't get that back, So,
I get that.
So I was hoping I wasn't a father.
So when you mentioned that it wasn't true, was there any fear underneath that hope?
Never fear. No, never fear. You gotta do what you gotta do.
Right. So when it was confirmed, what was your emotional state?
I was worried about my other daughter. And I wasn't worried about my son. Because my other daughter got one daughter, and she's very spoiled. And I knew she wasn't going to like it.
So how is she taking it now?
Ask Breona.
How is she taking it, Breona?
My sister loved me. She felt
Is that the way it started, or is that just how it, how it became?
She was never she wasn't mean. She was never mean towards me. I think she was confusion. She was a little bit confused. She was definitely a little bit confused at first, but she was never mean. It just took her a while to warm up.
Okay.
Well,
But the other,
she had to do the right thing because that's how we raised her. That's how my mom raised me. And knowing it's not Breona's fault. But she, as a matter of fact, I try and keep them apart now. They're so close.
When you, so Brian, let me ask you something about your father. What's the status of your father? What kind of relationship?
They're very close.
What kind of relationship did you have with your father?
Me?
Yes, sir. What kind of
Are you
relationship?
speaking to me?
Yes, sir. What kind of relationship did you have with?
My dad died when I was 10 years old.
Ah.
So not much of a relationship, a lot of pain from him not being there.
Right.
But not much of a relationship.
so who was the man in your life that influenced you to become the man you are?
My grandfather, my uncle,
Okay.
my grandfather mostly. I worked with him every day from the time I was like 9 years old till I was graduated from high school on a paper truck. So I was with him every day.
Gotcha.
So was that your dad's father that you're talking about as far as your grandfather, or your
my mother?
your
mother's
mother?
father.
Okay. All right.
Hey, Brian, when this pregnancy,
A lot of women helped me become who I am also.
Okay, I can relate to that.
okay. The next question I had, when this pregnancy occurred, what happened next?
So, going back 35 years or so. To be honest with you, me and my mom thought we had a decent relationship for what it was. Never argument. I actually think I had to be one of our mom's first loves, but I never knew it. But my mom called me up one day and told me she was pregnant. I said, "Is it mine?" She said, "No." I said, "Thank you," and I probably hung up.
So you felt you dodged a bullet at that time, yes?
Yeah, you know what's funny? I don't really believe in kids out of wedlock, but I have them. But I think it's one of the best. It's horrible for the community. I believe in family structure.
Right. That being the case, have you spoken with her mother or father who raised Breona since this surfaced? Have you spoken to her parents since this came to light?
I spoke to her mom recently, but before then, I think there was a party for one of her sons. He did not speak to me, and I thought it was very disrespectful. I don't even know if they speak to my kids, right? My kids are grown, right? And my son's a pretty big dude, but I don't think they want to see anybody disrespecting their dad. But again, my kids are raised pretty cool, so they're not going to say anything. Dad, you okay? I'm fine. But I thought it was very disrespectful. And I told Breona I didn't think her parents respected me at all. And I'm not going to be disrespected too much.
As well, you shouldn't be, because this is, like I say, about her. It's not, has nothing to do with you and those other two parents that were involved in this. But I do have a question. Breona did say something about how she did some research, and then she noticed on TikTok there was a lot of men that denied and didn't want to be a part of these children's lives. You took the step that I would have taken as being a real man. What would you have to say to some of these other guys out here right now that may have that same thought of not being involved when they should be? What would you say to those guys that have that same thought?
First of all, my mom never knew her dad, and I can always tell the pain my mom had. Didn't have to mention it, right? I can always always tell. Yeah, my dad died when I was 10, right? So I didn't have my dad. So I knew whatever kids I had, I was going to be a good father. There was no doubt about that. I remember growing up in the projects, and I'm like 9 years old, and guys say, well, I got this kid, I got this kid, I got this kid, and they were all over me. And in the back of my mind, I always said, that doesn't make you a man. Anybody can have kids. Now, I never said that's look, you're too old. But I think that helped shape me. But there's guys who think that or feel that, if I always say, pain is a great thing if you use it the right way. Let my kids feel the pain that I felt. So it was just that simple.
Quick question.
Why would you want your kids to feel the same pain you feel?
Right. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I thought you were finished. But
just that simple for me.
Okay. What emotions surface when you think about someone else living the role of father to your 35-year-old child?
That's a great question. I haven't really thought about that question, I guess, but I always tell her, and maybe it's totally not fair to her, and everybody I tell this to, they get mad at me. And everybody's probably right with me. This is my feelings, right? I can't be a father because I didn't raise her, right? Not fair to her, right? And everybody tells me I'm wrong, right? I feel that I didn't raise her. She doesn't have my upbringing. She doesn't have she may have my sense of humor, but she hasn't heard my jokes. She just hasn't lived with me, right? I didn't mold her, I didn't shape her, right? And maybe I'm going to speak out of turn, but I got to say it this way. I hope I'm not embarrassing her. My daughters have kids and they're married, right? Her sisters have kids that are married. And the problem I have with her family is, as a father, you always know where your daughters are. Men are predators by nature. We are. And you protect your daughters.
So going forward, what does the future look like for you and Breona? I mean, you didn't get a chance to raise her, and you express your thoughts on that. What does it look like from this point forward?
We talk almost every day, every other day, every day. Just to get closer, man, and let her know that she's got somebody who's got her back. But that, how can I say? Maybe she can say it better. I'm going to start it out, Breona. You finish it off. Her parents want her to have nothing to do with me, right? And that doesn't bother me because I haven't seen them in 30, 40 years, so that doesn't bother me one bit. Matter of fact, kind of feather in my cap because that means if for some reason I don't know, they didn't give her the love she should have had, or she never came looking for me, or they wouldn't be worried. But I told her I was going to help her one time, and they told her if I helped her, they would get upset about it. Is that right, Breona?
That's correct. That's the gist of the story. Yes, that's correct.
So she can tell you more about that. I don't want to talk too much about her parents, especially her dad, because it may not come out positive.
I get that.
It won't come out positive.
Right. That being the case, what would you say to men who know or suspect they may have a child out there?
That's kind of pretty difficult. I put that on the woman because you can think you got a child out there, and that woman, she will continue to lie, right? And say whatever to protect whatever she's trying to protect. So I have very little respect. I have no respect for women who lie to kids because, that you can either be sick or men take care of kids that aren't theirs. And I'll tell you the story that happened to me. I'm probably 27, 28. I'm in New Orleans. And one of my best friends came up to me and he said, Brian, I just found out my child wasn't mine after 18 years. Now, this guy, one of my best friends, and helped me. And all I could do was cry on my shoulder. And there wasn't a damn thing I could do about it. Right? And I felt so old because I couldn't help them. Right? So these women, women play so many games, and that's another story. But there's no way a man can really know, you know. But if he thinks it's his, he should look into it and wait for the lie that's going to be told.
Wait for the lie that's going to be told.
Wow.
There's a reason why she don't want him to know, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Knowing what you know now, what does fatherhood mean to you now? Knowing what you know, what does fatherhood mean to you now?
It hasn't changed. It hasn't changed. You know, I mean, I'm a good dad. I got good kids. I mean, my son could be better, but my kids love me and I love them.
He's a boy. I have two of them. I get it.
That's true. That's true. That's true. Nothing's changed. I mean, so right now, I don't really focus on my kids as much. I focus on my grandkids.
Got you.
So you're still parenting. You're still parenting, still being a father. Yeah, that's a good thing.
A grandfather is a father.
I got a 20-year-old and I got a 19-year-old, and I'm going to tell them if they get somebody pregnant, they may have to marry them, right? So I'm going to tell them, because break the cycle. Use contraceptive, do whatever you got, but don't come to me, right? And be better than I was. I mean, be better. And I think my grandkids are better, but be much better than I was. Be more cautious. Like, learn from my mistakes.
Okay, your daughter, Breona,
here. Kid, man. You get a chance to.
Your daughter, Breona, here has two sons. How you building a relationship with them if you started that already? Did you hear me?
I'm sorry, Chris. We couldn't hear you. We can hear you now. We couldn't hear you before.
No, I was asking that. You know, you have two sons. How's he building a relationship with them at this point from how things are going?
Breona, you want to answer that?
My kids love him. They were actually trying to get back to his house tonight. They love him. I think they love being up there because he kind of, like how grandfathers do, let them get away with anything. But
a lot of things that are important. Right?
Well, I asked the question based upon what you just said about taking care of the grandkids. That's why I asked that question. I wanted to see how that's working out because everything's still fresh. It's 3 years in.
Yeah, well, I pick my grandkids up on Wednesdays. I have a granddaughter pick up. It gives me a chance to bond with them, you know, be grandfather, be tough on them when it's time to be tough. I'm not as easy as they think I am, but you know, grandparents' love is different, you know.
Case by case basis.
That's where you come and you get spoiled.
You know, as a coach, Breona, do you have your sons involved in any kind of sporting events?
Yes. So my oldest son, he was in basketball, but now he's concentrating on football and track. And my youngest son we got to get him in football, but he does basketball. Okay. So does your biological dad come out and support them when you're doing that, or did it start?
My family plays football.
Okay. I know you say
no, they support him.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
so go ahead.
All the boys in my family play football. That's a must.
Okay. And you say you're an athlete. You're an athlete. Did you play football or basketball or baseball? Brian.
All three both.
Okay.
Let me are you two considering therapy? What are your thoughts about that, Brian?
Yeah, we talked about it, but I don't know what I would get out of it. So the main thing is that she's whole. She's whole. And there's just some things I can't help her with. I don't think. The things I can help her with, obviously I will. But there's some things she's not going to tell me. She's not going to tell me what happened to her. How she felt growing up. Why she felt that she wasn't part of the family. I can't help her with those things. Now, in retrospect, I feel a little guilty because it happened to her, right? But I can't help her with those things.
So
I can't. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No. So what you say you don't see what kind of help it would do? What makes you feel, think, and believe that therapy wouldn't be beneficial to you?
I don't think it would help me. It might soothe me. The biggest thing about all of this, as I said, she didn't get to meet my mom or my sisters, right? And my grandmother. She would be my oldest daughter.
Do you feel that therapy will give you good and better insight to your current situation and your daughter, Breona?
It may. I think that she needs to. I'm gonna always be cool, right? There's no pressure on me, right? The pressure is, and she's listening. The pressure is on her from her other family, right? There's no pressure. I put no pressure on her. I disagree with some things she may say because we have a lot of political discussions. But she knows that that I put no pressure on her. I want her to be happy with her mom, her dad, and her sisters, regardless of how they feel about me.
Right.
That's her family.
Yeah. Well,
hold on, Frederick. Let me ask this question because he said something I want to address that I dealt with when I went to Mississippi. My brother took me to the gravesite of my father's side of the family, and he kind of gave me the whole spiel of who these people were that I never knew. Did you ever share anything with Breona about your grandmother and these people that you say she never was around? Did you ever share any of those stories with her on who they were?
Well, it's funny you should ask that. Breona, you can correct me because I don't have any idea. When Deborah died, were you around?
No, I think I met you maybe a month or two after Deborah passed.
Yeah, so Deborah was one of my oldest sisters, and very, very influential in the family, right? Impossible shoes to fill. You met me when Jackie died. Then my other sister died, right? Was it Jackie or Dina?
So Jackie died. Jackie passed away, I think that January, and then Dina passed away in June. But I didn't know they were my aunts, but for maybe about 10 years or so, I was in the same church as them. One of my best friends was really close with his younger sister, Kim, and I went to church with her all the time. So I would see them all the time. I just didn't know they were my aunts.
My sister was a minister. They were always in the church. And that's one of the things that upset me about it.
So not knowing they were your aunts, Breona, and did you know them as women, who they were? Even though you didn't know they were family?
I knew them in passing, yes.
Okay. But my point of asking that question is, do you think that would kind of help you relieve some of that strain you have on you, Brian, about not having her as a young daughter, raising her and knowing your family? Do you think you might be able to share some of that with her so you can get relief from that?
I don't think I have any strain. I mean, again, there's nothing I can do about the past. I can.
Of course. I don't want to cut you off, but I get that. And the reason why I'm asking this question, because like I say, I dealt with it personally just last spring. And when I went to the grave site and saw my dad's grave, and then all of my uncles and aunts and grandmothers and great grandmothers and grandfathers all on that plot in this same area, it actually opened my mind from what my brother explained, because he had the whole story. He knew everything. I actually recorded it. And we're going to put that on my show when we do my part on this from this series we're going to make on Finding Fathers, so people can see what I experienced on the gravesite. So I get where you're coming from that, because I wish I had a chance to converse with them. I wish I had a chance to meet them. I wish I had a chance to meet my dad like your daughter was meeting you. I didn't have that. And I'm not, you know, that's a void in my life I can't replace. So I get where you're coming from, but you know them. You were raised by them. So my point is by you sharing what you know with her, do you think that can create more of a bond and get some relief from you, that from what you feel?
No, I mean I talk to her about my sisters all the time.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but I mean when it comes up, I don't. I even knew my great grandmother. Right, she was born in 1891. Right. So she died when I was a sophomore in high school at 91, and her parents were slaves. Right. So Breona knows that, correct?
Yes.
She knows that. So.
Okay. Okay, so there is some information that's getting out there from them to her, so she can have some idea what her family was like on your side. Okay, that's good. I'm not gonna stress it, but I do understand it because, like I said, I experienced it.
She talks
Yeah,
about
he's told me a lot of family history. My aunt Sheila, who is technically my great aunt, and then I have cousins, my older cousins. They share a lot with me also.
I have a question for both of you as we wind down. What does moving forward look like for both of you? What does that look like for both of you?
You can start, Breona.
Well, for me, I think we're at a pretty good pace now. I do, like you said, we talk every day, every other day, and just continuing to build and strengthen the relationship. We can't make up for lost time. It sucks, but we can't do it. The only thing we can do is move forward. And even though he does not like when I say this, I say all the time, I don't matter anymore. I'm grown. My kids, that's who matters to me the most now. That's who I want to really build the relationship that I didn't have. That's what matters to me the most now.
With him?
Yes, with him, yes.
Okay. And your take on that, Brian?
With the future, I mean, just be here if they need me. I mean, keep doing what I'm doing. I mean, be available. The one thing is that the kids say they're funny. They say I work too much. I work all the time, but that's only so they can get here more and take more advantage of me. But no, it's to me. I'm just going to keep doing the same thing. Not that I'm perfect, but I'm sort of set in my ways. What you say, Breona?
Yeah, you are set in your ways.
Yeah, always. I don't like any disruptions, but I'm just going to keep moving forward and be here when I'm needed.
Okay, let me ask you one thing I asked her earlier before we had this technical issues. I asked her, what does she know about you now that she wish she knew earlier? What do you know about her now that you wish you were a part of, or that you know that you're okay with?
I'm okay with everything she is.
Good.
But I'm not okay. How can I say this? I don't hold the answers to her being whole. The mother does, right? So from that standpoint, I can't really give her what she needs other than love and stuff like that. But she needs to be told the truth, right?
I understand.
Sit down and hey, everybody makes mistakes, but don't come. On a mistake like this, you can't compound on it. Quit insulting her intelligence. Tell her the truth and then move on. And ask for her forgiveness. Right? I can't give her that. Right? And her dad has to give her something too, right? Because any child that's 4 or 5 or 9 or 10 and say, I'm not yours, what are you doing to that child? What's that child experiencing? I have a stepchild, right? And you would never know, make no difference in my kids. If I do, my daughter will see me. Kids are always watching you. You never know. My mother always told me this, right? You can always close your eyes, but you can never close your ears. Watch what you say. So
Makes
I'm very
sense.
careful about when I was married. I used to whisper. When I was married to my wife, I whispered. The kids never heard me argue. Never, ever heard me raise my voice in my house. But her mother owes her, and her dad owes her. Those are things I can't give her. That that if I could make them give it to her, I would. And if I'm angry, it's that. If I'm angry about it, it's that. Right? Make her whole. Give her what she needs. Right? Be happy. Be happy for her that she's found her dad. That's it.
You're a good man. I'm gonna give you nothing but props like I gave her. I applaud you as well, like I applauded her. You're a good man. You're a good man. I'm glad I got a chance to meet you, and I hope this won't be the last time that we get a chance to talk. Because, like I said, the Men's Lounge LA, we here for men like you to show you got support. I know you're strong-willed. I am too. I respect that. But we still here for any time that you want to talk and you want to go over some things that you're dealing with this journey that just came into your life. We're gonna kind of wind this down because I know it's late there. It's getting late here. We're starting to lose light. But go ahead, Frederick.
Takeaway. What are the takeaways?
Well, I got to get back on when I can get my computer working. I don't know what's wrong. I got in a half hour early and it worked perfectly. And then it went out.
Yeah, we were talking to you. We expressed that to our listening audience. So we hate the fact that we didn't see you on here, but we always do a takeaway with our listening audience, and we want this to become something that's from you and her. Your takeaway for the short period of time we had you on voice, that you would have, Brian, to our listening audience about this this journey that you guys are on, because right now it's a journey because you guys just been together for 3 years. What is your takeaway that you would have for our listening audience to know or hear at this point from you?
And being a father is a great thing. It's a beautiful thing. You have a chance to mold your child. The child gets to know you. And it can only add to the child's life, right? It can only add to the child's life. I don't understand any man, right, who didn't have a father, who doesn't want to be a father. And then my last thing on it, there are men and there are boys. And everybody knows the difference between men and boys. Doesn't matter how tall you are, how much money you make, how big you are, be a man. Take care of your responsibility. Every animal finds shelters for young ones. Every animal, except for men. Be a man.
Well said. Well said. I agree. Breona.
What about you, Breona? What would you like the listening audience to take away with?
My biggest takeaway, especially from this experience, this journey, would be to put yourself and your needs first. One thing that I regret in this journey is considering other people's problems and other people's feelings, and it ended up being a detriment to myself and also to my children in the end. No child asked to be here. So if you're an adult like myself and you are finally finding where you come from, who your parents are, whether that be your mother or your father, you take the time and consider your feelings first, and you move off what's best for you and no one else.
Well said. You know, during the course of this broadcast, I didn't hear anything about much support. You said your friends supported you, but I didn't hear anything about family support, and I'm saddened to hear that. So we're here for you. We're here for you. The Men's Lounge is here for you to share, talk, express, vent. You know, you have my number, and I invite you to use it as you choose.
Yeah, we have a group now. You guys are part of the Men's Lounge LA family, and I would urge you guys to use it as needed because we're here to support families. We're here to empower men, and we appreciate you guys really being on the show. Thank you, Brian, for being part of the show. Sorry we had these technical difficulties. Yes.
I have a question. Can I come home with my daughters one day and let them talk about me as a father?
Absolutely. I think that's a great idea. Just make sure it's not make sure it's not too much.
I won't be in the room with them.
Let's make sure it's not cold weather to where we don't get a signal. I know you can't control that.
Unless it was in the summer. One's in Cincinnati and 2 in Chicago.
I would love that. I would love that because we're here to empower men, and we want to make sure men are supported and noted that there are good men out there because men don't get the just due that they deserve, and there's a lot of men out there don't want it, but they definitely need to have their flowers while they're above ground, and you deserve it, man. You're a good man.
Yeah, I don't take that. I don't like to. I like to stay under the radar, right, Breona?
Of course.
Yeah, you do.
Of course.
Sometimes it depends. It depends.
Depends on the situation. You proved my point. You proved my point. You've proved my point. Exactly what you just said is exactly why I said what I said. Most men don't want it. I don't. And I get it. But that's why we have this platform for men just like you and myself who don't want that pat on the back, but still deserve that pat on the back because we all want recognition and deserve recognition when it's due. So, like I say, I applaud you and I applaud your daughter for you guys' courage. And we love your story. It means a lot to me because I experienced it through my entire life in a different manner, but still I had that urge like she had to find her father. And we really appreciate you guys being on the show. Thank you again, Breona. Thank you again, Brian, for being on our show. Did you have anything else you want to add to this?
Appreciate it.
No, that's it for me. You can take us home. You can take us home. We want to thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of the guests on our show. And for our listening audience, please, 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 we want to hear from you in the comment section. So that being said, Coach Chris, take us home.
As we end all our shows, as I always say, as we empower men, everyone benefits, including the woman who's looking for a man like that.
And here at the Men's Lounge LA, we empower men, we're strengthening families, and we're transforming lives. And we'll see you next time in the lounge.
Thanks for watching.